Slurp. Happy Monday morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It's great to see you. Carol in Wisconsin. Good morning from the wonderful world of Wisconsin. I am crooked. I am crooked. It's a wonderful world out there. I was telling my sister all about it. I saw her a couple times this past week and I said, how come you haven't told me about Wisconsin? She hasn't been to Wisconsin yet. But I think she and her husband, her German husband, would absolutely love it out there too. Oh, it's a wonderful world. Speaking of which, how does he know? How does he know that I just got on camera 1 second ago, and now he needs to get his face into the camera. Good morning, buttons. Lynda B, good morning. A good day with a clear blue sky in New Jersey. Finally, more stupid rain this weekend, huh? Oh, come on, Autumn. Kaz, great to see you. Week 2 of being in Minnesota. I know, beautiful day there. Oh, that's great. That is great. Anita, great to see you in Canada. Good to see you. Linda H. in sunny Massachusetts. Isn't it funny how it's like bad weekend? Well, I'm trying to think, was yesterday was sunny, I guess. Sunday was sunny. It just seems like the weekdays are stellar weather. And as soon as it hits the weekend, when like all the stuff, events and festivals are happening, crazy. But we are supposed to get weather back in the 80s, I think, this week, which is kind of crazy. And I put away all of the lightweight clothes, of course. Try not to do my slurp. I always think about that comment somebody wrote once, like, "Oh, your slurping is disgusting on your." And it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. During coffee time, I had a sip of coffee. I'm so sorry about that. It's in my head permanently now." Karen, great to see you from Black Forest, Colorado. Debbie in upstate New York, great to see you. I keep thinking about that Fiber Festival in Rhinebeck, right? That's a biggie. Let's see what date that is. That's coming up fairly soon, isn't it? Rhinebeck is the weekend of October, Rhinebeck, New York, so the Finger Lakes region. October, I think 1920, I think 19 through 22. I'm hoping that that's the case because my plan is to shoot over there on the 19th. Um, yeah, that's my plan. Let me know if anyone's going to the Fiber Festival in Rhinebeck. That's my plan. Because I definitely have to be back on the 20th for the Halloween flea market in Providence. And on the 18th, that's the day that I'm going to give a talk in York, Maine. There's a guild in York, Maine. It's Grace Collette, the iconic Grace Collette, told me about it while I was at the Deerfield Fair looking at the rug show this past week with Jay. And um, I'm not sure that she told me the name of the guild, but it is a guild in Maine, and they meet in New York, I think monthly. I think is it the second or third weekend of, I guess it's the third week of the month, the third Wednesday. And I asked her, because I didn't ask her before the Friday show where I mentioned I'd be talking at that. Um, I said, sorry, probably too much to see, but I just want to get a little bit closer. I'm struggling because I didn't have time to go back home today. We'll talk about all that. And I had to reposition myself pretty quickly because I didn't really want this. Do you see all that craziness on the walls? I thought, let's not have that behind me because the video would probably be pulled for copyright anyway. Teddy's enormous collection. It goes down the whole wall of South Park plush things. Don't ask me. I only buy them. But yeah, I'm curious about that. I should find out what the name of that guild is. But if anybody is there in Maine, I have to say I'm going to be there doing the first presentation and talk on. I can't believe I'm saying this. We're this far along. The Design Like book rugs. So many of you have sent rugs in for Design Like, and that book should be out, published by Rug Cooking Magazine. I'm thinking January, because Mark said very early in the year, and they're working on it now. That's the book I got in most recently, so that's the second book. And those Design Like rugs, even the ones for chapters that were cut from this volume 1, I'm still going to have many of the rugs with me. I don't know if I'll have all of them with me, because I know that at guild meetings, it's not possible to talk indefinitely, as long as I would love to talk and look at rugs together. But I will bring a lot of them, and I'll be talking about the makers, and they will be rugs that haven't been seen before. So here it begins. Now that the book is in, here it begins the kind of cycles of looking at these extraordinary rugs. So if you are anywhere near York, Maine, please let me know. I'm not, but I'll be traveling there to do the talk at the guild. And Grace said, always looking for new people to come and join and hook together. And judging from uh, Grace's body of work, I mean, her innate talent, but also her, we've looked at her work a lot during the Green Mountain Show last year, right? Last year when I went up to Vermont. And I mean, her work, she's heavy, trapunto, texture, height, sort of collage effects, lots of different optical effects and techniques. Extraordinary work. So if her work is any sort of gauge as to how inspiring that guild is and the people who are in it, I'd say, yeah, if there's any chance that you can get there and be a part of that, you should. So if you don't know about it already, please let me know and I can give you some more information on that date. And again, the date that I will be there to do the popping out of the oven, the first stop on the crazy train, that will be just an endless series of books, the design like books, as we together create them and go along through the years. I always want to have those books going as a series. This will be the first look at those in public, right? The first view. And again, that will be October 18th, Wednesday, October 18th. All right. Darlene, good morning. Great to see you. Beautiful in Ontario. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm sure you're enjoying the day immensely, and I hope that there are many beautiful days ahead of us. Judy Phillips, love the doors. Yeah, these are just the stupid accordion doors, like basement doors, but I painted them with that unicorn spit, that transparent paint a while back, because Teddy had this idea for a while that he wanted to have this big YouTube channel. It was called Bubble Fart. Yes. And then he wasn't that interested in doing it. So I created this whole set on this side of the playroom for him. And then I guess he was just too cool to do it. Too cool to make millions of dollars like all those other kids who are making stupid, crazy videos on YouTube, right? I wish he was less cool, and I wish that he was sitting here recording videos with the doors. Thank you. I'm glad I'm able to use them from time to time. Dave, great to see you. Greetings from sunny and warm Toronto. Coffee is ready. Me too. I did an instant coffee because I already had a coffee today. 2 is really bad because I am super dairy intolerant, so there will be lots of trouble later, but it's so worth it sometimes, Mm. Melissa, great to see you. April, great to see you. You're on your walk and I'm tagging along. I love that. I love that. Makes me feel like I'm doing a little more exercise. It's a good thing. Cat's Gallery, good morning from sunny California. Great to see you. Marilyn, good morning. Great to see you. And April Bloom in Illinois, great to see you. Good morning. Happy Monday. Judy, you thought it was unicorn spit. Unicorn spit is the most this stuff behind me, this paint, is the most magical product. It's super transparent like a stain, but it for example, if you use the color white in with all these other colors, it just drags this opaque sort of veneer of pastel across. I mean, it's a remarkable product. I'm guessing it's an acrylic base. I don't know, but it's very fluid and it comes out of a. I'm wondering if I have any right here. You know what? They're right here, because someone was using my unicorn. I don't really use them anymore. Joss was using them. I don't want to know what she was doing, but I can see that there is paint on the floor. Well, you can see this is how things look when Jocelyn uses them, but they look like this, unicorn spit. And they come in a squirt, and she has them open to boot, so that's fantastic. But they squirt. There's only a very limited amount of colors, but it's remarkable. And they come in sets if you want like the whole set. It's worth getting just the whole set, small ones, because they last forever. They sell small ones and big ones. They last forever. I can't use that stuff up, I'm telling you. I've painted everything with that stuff. Furniture, it all looks beautiful, but you can really control your colors, and it's very easy to drag. And you do see a little bit of the wood behind it. It has a very chalky, flat finish, but it's incredibly durable. I mean, I see actually food, like food. How did food get on the door and stay there? I see like some really gross stuff, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great product. Yeah, it's making me feel like I should check those caps and maybe work with it again. It was a lot of fun. Danny, great to see you. He has so much time to do YouTube. I know, you know, he is online a lot, like playing online games. But he is a busy guy, also. I have to say. But it would be great. People are making. I mean, I'm not one of them. I hope that my videos get more and more traction as time goes on. But I have to do more smaller videos. I have to say, remember I told you that there is a huge pop in new subscribers from the Russia, Ukraine, that I know that whole region right there. There is a massive pop of subscribers on the YouTube channel, which is fantastic. It's not possible, FYI, it's not possible for me to monetize viewers from other places, which is a bit of a want. So an extra thank you to Patreon subscribers who subscribe to this channel, support Ribbon Candy Hooking, which is me, the brand, the shows, all the live shows, all this stuff. It is great to have a lot of, I was going to say survivors. Isn't that awful? Subscribers. That was not Freudian, I swear to God. But it's nice to know. Of course, there are tons of people in all parts of the world who are interested in creative stuff. And I just think of that part of the world because we have so little knowledge. It's so sort of curated by news and be careful channels. And it's hard really to know what's going on. It's nice to know that there are people in that pinpoint of the world, because I can see it on the map, who are doing arts and crafts. I still have a lot of Etsy people I buy stuff from that are in that exact part of the world on that Russia-Ukraine line. So it's just curious that I have so many new viewers from there, and a huge welcome. It is the best thing in the world to work on craft projects. And if you're able to understand me with a different language and a different alphabet, you are amazing. And that is always remarkable to me. I do have other languages. I can speak other languages, but none with a different alphabet, right? With different characters. For some reason in my head, that's impossible. But for other people, it's not. Congrats if you're one of those amazing people, and welcome if you are one of our new viewers. We are so happy to have you. Sharon says, hi from cloudy, cool Vancouver. My mouth is not working today. Hold on, let me get some more coffee. You're about to take the dog out to get the monthly arthritis shot. That sounds good. That sounds like a good move. The dog will be feeling good later, doing some jazzercise later. We've had an eventful morning here, I'll tell you, before we get going with our commentary. And today we are looking again at we're going to be looking for a while at the country fairs, because I went to 2 big ones in one day last Thursday. And there were so many rugs. I really want to dig in and look at the great work that people have been doing. I want to continue our look at the rug show at the Deerfield Fair in Deerfield, New Hampshire. So that's on the agenda for today. Michelle, great to see you. But today was a big day for us, and it was a big weekend indeed for us, because it was Jocelyn's actual birthday on Saturday. And it was very nice because we had to cancel her party for Friday night because of something at the school that they planned that she didn't want to go to, but it was a bit of a killer in terms of like split alliances, you know, people who would want to go there and people who would want to come to our yard for that huge carnival that I put out every year, which I'll put out again. So we had to change that, but we ended up driving to Rhode Island in the rain on Saturday. The kids' mood doesn't change if it's rainy. Isn't that great? That's like an inspiration, isn't it? That their mood is just, well, I mean, when Joss is grumpy, she's grumpy. It's every morning that she's grumpy. But as soon as we exit the house and she's in the back of the car with her phone and she had her hamburger hat on, life is good no matter what the weather's doing. Hot, cold, sweaty, miserable, whatever, doesn't matter. So we had a nice drive in and stopped at a few antique stores, and I picked up some great old copies of some auction catalogs. I went through literally hundreds of auction catalogs. The kids suffered, which was awful because it was actually Joss's birthday. I made 2 stops so that she didn't have to come the second time, but I felt compelled to go through these auction catalogs because I have a lot of auction catalogs from lots of different auction houses from the 2000s, but I don't always see them from the 80s and 90s. And the thing about those catalogs are many of them, particularly ones that are featuring folk art and folk decoration, they're in black and white. So it's like, it's not the low-hanging fruit, right? Because you look at the rug, the image is this big, it's not very good. but the description tells you what the colors are in the rug vaguely, right? Vaguely, like beige background, green trees or whatever. Particularly with geometrics, they tell you what colors they are. So I thought, you know what, let's do this. I want to do a season maybe over the winter of just doing an insane, in-depth, deep dive into every antique rug that I can find. Right, not just the ones we see all the time online because they're in color and it's easy to poach the photograph from the auction house. No, like the rugs that are from these catalogs that are very, very, tiny little rugs, not a lot of information, but and you have to use a lot of imagination. But I would like to do a sort of push for all of us where we just, whether you're doing mini punch or you're doing quilting or rug hooking or whatever, just executing these designs in color and maybe working on a book project with that, because I feel like we should honor these past designs. The rugs are just gone, right? Somebody has the rugs, and who knows whether the person who bought them in 1981 at an auction, who knows whether when they are gone, their family is going to roll up the beautiful rug and put it in a dumpster, because I've seen that more times than I care to remember. So I feel like I went through every single catalog and I tried to capture um, every catalog that had a rug in it, just in terms of being complete and having the collection in place. And I thought, let's hit that hard over the winter when all the craziness of the holidays is over and we have time to sit down and roost for a little while, with no huge expectations, no huge plans of movement and adventures, and think about those antique rugs and work on that over the winter. I think that would be a really good use of time, and to shore up that, like, that part of our rug making history that will certainly fall by the wayside. All of those rug designs will fall by the wayside if nobody picks them up and runs with them. So while they can't be copyright free because of their age, I am gonna hook them and color plan them in a certain way, right? So they're like as close to the descriptions as possible. And then we'll see how many people feel like getting in on it and executing some of those rugs. And then I'll try to put that together into either an exhibit, well, definitely a book, but possibly also an exhibit or whatever. A lot of shows. I can't imagine putting a rug in the dumpster. It is barbaric. I've seen that so many times when I've pulled up, particularly years ago when I was starting, and I was always looking on Facebook for people who were selling a large rug hooking lot. And yeah, there were houses where we would pull up and we would go inside to be collecting like bags of wool and stuff like that. And there would be like rugs and finished projects in the dumpster, open dumpster that had been, being rained on for weeks while the family and that were just beyond and underneath like refrigerators and furniture. A lot of that. And I mean, I get it. I get it to some extent. This is big trash pickup month, October in our town. And I just driving, out this morning to physical therapy, I could see all the garbage on the street. And it's like, someone else might go, oh God, that's not garbage. That's a 1960s industrial stool and it's blah, blah, blah. Who cares if it's missing a leg and it's covered with paint? It's like, the eye of the beholder, isn't it? But for us, it hurts your heart to think about people throwing out finished projects. And for me particularly, the non-commercial projects that were like original work can't be replaced. It's such a total heartbreak. So yeah, so that was a big part of the weekend for me. That like got my blood pumping big time because so many rugs I'd never seen before. And yeah, I got real excited. And yeah, we ended up staying overnight with some friends. They have their son is my good friend Kim, who's the puppeteer. I always talk about her. I should introduce you sometime. And her husband and their son Gus, who's also on the spectrum but goes to the school Teddy's at now. So we had a great time, a great hotel room party, and then there was like a Mexican restaurant in the same parking lot, which was a lot of fun. So Kim had made a reservation. We went over there, and they were like a new restaurant. My kids don't really eat Mexican food, but they don't really eat any food in restaurants. So they had burgers, which is all Ted's going to eat anyway, and Joss doesn't eat anything. So what's the difference, right? So, but they had like lots of nice drinks for grown-ups. So it was a perfect place. and the staff came over and sang happy birthday to Joss, but they snuck up behind her and they put this giant sombrero on her head, and she was so surprised. She loved it. I was afraid she was going to freak out, but she loved it. And they brought over a giant messy churros type dessert, which she loved. And then we went to Waterfire in Providence. I don't know if you've had a chance to get to this yet, but it is such a beautiful event. I'll post some I think I did post some pictures on my personal Facebook page where you're welcome to join, and not join, but be friends. God, it was so beautiful. It was raining right up until the time that they were lighting the fires on the Providence River. And it's like dozens of fires, and they come through in the dark on gondolas. And they must be gasoline fires because they are staying lit. And it was raining. But I mean, you walk down to the pedestrian only area down below the street level with all of the big sky. There's not a lot of skyscrapers, but the Superman building is there, which is the country's first skyscraper, and the beautiful Biltmore Hotel, and all these very few iconic skyscrapers in Providence. And then the river set way down, and on the surface of it, all of these fires, dozens of fires with these, what did I just say? Venice gondolas going through and just adding to them, like adding wood and ignite, getting them a little bit more hardy. And it was just beautiful, and blasting this kind of classical, little bit new agey music, just blasting. Very atmospheric, very haunting. Felt very sort of ritualistic, just standing there in the dark with all these old weeping willow trees that are just all over Providence, hanging down, and in between seeing the river with all of these fires glowing, and the reflection of the skyscrapers. And then all of these ballerinas came to this small little area in front of the river. There was lots of performances going on simultaneously. We just happened to be here with the ballerinas, and it was a warm night, right? Easy for me to say because I had like a jean jacket on, but they were in their white ballerina tutus, a whole group of them, young girls, and they all had the pink breast cancer ribbons on. So if there were programs I missed where they were coming from, but it must have been something to do with breast cancer this night, because everybody who was involved in this particular night of Waterfire, because it's like every week for 2 seasons, had breast cancer ribbons and stuff on. So there's something larger going on there. But the ballerinas came, and they sat down right in front of the river with all of the fires glowing behind, and they laid down in their white tutus on the wet pavement. And it sounds miserable, but it really was not that cold. And it was just drizzling a little bit, the end of the drizzle, and then it was about to stop. But they were in position like that, almost like a Swan Lake kind of thing, a bunch of them, laying on the pavement, the wet pavement, for about 10 minutes, waiting for the cue for their music to start. And it was just so weirdly beautiful, that the ground was like reflecting, like it was so wet and reflecting, and they were there in these giant white skirts, like little fallen birds. And then when the music started, God, it was so emotional. It was so powerful. It was like their song, and they rose up and they started dancing, and oh, it was so beautiful. It was incredible. And about 200 people with torches came from right next to where we were standing. We happened to be standing right next to one of the many bridges. And people with the torches came, hundreds. One each had like one big torch, almost like, like a Frankenstein mob scene, but chill and fun and positive and artsy, and circled the entire basin around the river, like the main part of the river. And it was just light. And in the end, I'm going to stop. This was just one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen, because I've been to Waterfire before, but it's different every time. And then one of the ballerinas got into one of the gondolas, and the gondolier kind of circled like a spiral the whole basin. And when they got into the center, because it was dark, you couldn't really see what was in the center, but there was like a huge kind of fire balloon, enormous red balloon. And once she got close enough, she like put the torch out and lit it. And man, that thing went up like, it was gorgeous. It almost looked like it was made of flowers. And I'm sure this was a controlled thing, because they've been doing this for years. And again, different show every time. Free, completely free. And all of the fire like floating, oh God, and then landing on the river. I mean, it was just unbelievably beautiful. And then as we were leaving, because the kids enjoyed it, I think. but they were ready to go back to the room and continue our room party. But it was just beautiful, and they make parking free. When they have water fire, you park at the mall, which is right there. You just exit the mall, walk down the steps in the pedestrian only area, and then you're just walking along the river as far as you want to go, looking at this performance. I mean, what a thing. All cities should have beautiful stuff like this that's free for people to go to, because all of the restaurants and shops get a pop on these nights. It's just absolutely beautiful. It was amazing. And Jocelyn really wanted to go do this on her birthday. So, she had the hamburger hat on. But it was super fun. It was super fun and super meaningful. And God, maybe I'll make a rug out of it. I don't think I'm good enough to do stuff with reflections. But yeah, right, Karen? Um, okay, wait a minute. Let me do remind me later. I got this stupid fake we're scanning your computer thing. So that was super fun, and then we went to a pinball museum yesterday. It was one of the best places I've ever been in my life. Pinball's going back to the 1940s. I took about 1,000 photographs. There is definitely a rug there. Beautiful Art Deco painting around the bases of these pinball machines. The pinball art was unreal. You will definitely see a rug from me coming out of that pinball museum. We were there for like 5 hours. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy. But then we had to get back, and I had to get back to dyeing and we didn't get back till 9 p.m. And then I was working on dyeing again for orders, because this morning we walked Teddy to the school, and he starts at his new school today with his sister. So it was a great morning. He was very excited. We walked all the way. We started our new healthy lifestyle. We'll see how that goes. April, these machines, I took a ton of pictures. I haven't had time to post those yet. This was unreal. This guy has got hundreds. And they're all themed out. And I mean, some of them are just insanely beautiful. So I took tons of pictures of the sides of them and the backs of them with all of the kinds of stenciled shapes and everything on them, the old hardware. I mean, they were just beautiful. So I'm going to do kind of a composite design, at least one that's like a pinball rug. Really, really fun. And I think the kids will really love it too. I will definitely post the pictures. It's a lot, but man, it was $10. And this is Providence as well. I think it was called the Electromagnetic Pinball Museum and Arcade. $10, and you go in there, hundreds of working pinball machines. You play as long as you want. And there's like a timeout area if you're like, done with noise. But I mean, they had everything from like I think it was called the earthquake something, but the first pinball machine that actually shook, like the inside, it shook while you were playing it and things happened. It like, visibly shakes, like shakes the floor. It was kind of exciting. And some of the early ones that are based on like circus and fun house motifs, and going up to prototypes that were made like last week. And the guy who made them lives upstairs because it's in this old mill building that have partial computer screens. One was like a haunted cruise, and the pinball would go into different areas. And when it did, it would make all kinds of typical traditional noises, the physical aspect of a pinball bouncing off stuff, right? But then on the top, there was like, because it was like a haunted cruise theme, there was like ghosts would flip by. They look like holograms, like over your play. It was absolutely unreal. Highly recommend. If that's your kind of fun, highly recommend Providence for absolutely everything. I love Rhode Island is where I grew up, and I just love Rhode Island. It's better than ever. Oh, what a day. So it set me up well to have a good night's sleep, to get the kids off to school well. And now it's Happy Monday for us, and we are back to our rugs. This is the last rug that we looked at on Friday Night Cocktail Night. I hope you caught it, because we looked at many rugs from the New Hampshire Fair, right? The rug division of, all the, inside the Arts and Crafts building. There are many kinds of crafts and arts, obviously, and rug making is one of them. So I didn't even put the braided rugs into the slides yet. This is the last one we looked at, because there are tons, and I have not been wanting to rush it. I wanted to walk you through the last few before we look at, which will be today, the pumpkin rugs, right? Because that is a whole kind of challenge within the guild. This is the White Mountain Woolen Magic Guild. That's it. Great guild, great group of girls. Kathy and Lynda welcomed me especially. when we were at the fair last week. It was absolutely fantastic. I felt like a celebrity. I felt so spoiled, and like I was just being treated like a queen, shown around, told the stories of the rugs. I tried to capture as much as I could in my head and on my phone so that I could share it here and that we could all enjoy this exhibit, because it's, most of us are not driving distance to New Hampshire, and it was an absolutely stellar show. I thought this was an amazing piece. It's obviously a personal piece with Pup and two kitties. Talk about, oh, Melissa said, would you ever return to Rhode Island to live? Funny that you asked, because while we were there yesterday, um, we finished the pinball museum, and I went back to the antique place to get the rest of those catalogs with the rugs in them. I needed another hour and a half, and then the kids wanted to go into downtown Providence, where we went to the arcade, which is the oldest. It's like a Greek Palladian style building. It's the oldest shopping mall in the country. It's really not a shopping mall. It's just a few shops in there, but very, very cute. Ice cream, food, stuff like that. And while we were doing that, I said to them, do you want to go? I grew up in Barrington, Rhode Island, right? I was born in the Netherlands, but I grew up in Barrington. That's what I remember the most, before my dad thought he was Hemingway one year, junior year of college, and then we moved to Florida, and then we moved to Cape Cod. But until then, we spent a solid kindergarten through, even before kindergarten, through, I guess, sophomore is what, 12th grade, 10th grade, there. And so I said to the kids, do you want to see where Mama grew up in the house? And it gets me like all crazy and choked up. Where the house where I lived and all that. And they absolutely were dying to. And I thought, really? Because I've shown them before when they were infants. I thought, really, is that interesting for you? Because I thought they'd want to come home and play video games, So we drove by the house where I grew up, and it was super emotional. I drive by it often, but it still gets me every time. And I show them like the skylight that my dad put in with the neighbor, and the little porch that my dad built is still there, just like a little thing. He was not a builder. He was not handy. But yeah, and I showed them which of the windows of the house were, it was mine and my sister's and my parents, and and they were very, very interested. And then we drove to the side street around the back so they could look at the back of the house and see, say like, which windows were which. And I drove them to Primrose Hill, where I was able to walk as a child, and there was a playground, and they busted it out at the playground in a huge way. So that was super fun. One of this climbing thing that we used to call the cheese, because it was shaped like cheese. It was made of cement. Is gone, and it's recently gone, because last time I went it was there. It must be that some child got their face stuck in it or something, right? And then it's like all over for everyone. But it was absolutely beautiful. Matthew, it is time for coffee. Floating heads. But yeah, I mean, it was so fun, and the kids were going, oh, we'd like to live in Rhode Island. And I thought, really, would you? Because I'm not a huge fan of Connecticut, I have to say. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just not where I'm from. You know how that goes. So this is, speaking of history, family history and stuff, this is just a great idea. I love the idea of putting, whether they are with us now or were part of our lives in the past, all our buddies, right? Our animal buddies, the floating heads. Yeah, Pup and the two kitties. I mean, it means so much to the people who know these animals and have loved these animals, right? So beautiful. Rita, you prefer the grounded animals instead of the float. You know what the floating heads remind me of? A little bit like the talking heads, but also just because of the name. But also, I like this. I really like this. It reminds me of the school photographs where they used to have a reflection. Do you remember those? And it was like, it would be your portrait, and then on the side it was like you, but the side of your face like a reflection. And I really am sorry that they don't still have those, because I do like a good floating head, I have to admit. And that's not even offered anymore. But I really like this piece. I think it's a great tribute to those buddies. Another beautiful piece, very unusual view, kind of an aerial view, very abstract look. Talk about levels, right? There's a few things going on here. Glamour shots, that was it. There's a few things going on here. It is a bit of a landscape, right? It's also a color study. It's also, there's a bit of storytelling here, because we can see the sort of reds that could be fruits or berries or a bush or something like that, going into purples, going into yellow flowers like daphies, going into water, and there's a boat, right? This could be a look down, or this could be an aerial view. Those really are two different things, right? If you're looking down a hill. But I think it's mostly abstract, and it's also a crop, right? It's also a crop because it's running on a diagonal, and you get the sense that the composition is part of a larger circle, right? And for that reason, it's almost like we're only seeing a fraction of the story, but lots of layers stacked up in a really unusual way. We typically don't see diagonal layering. You hardly ever do. It has a very kind of, I've seen like some steampunk kinds of compositions that go on a diagonal because they're trying to make the wheel, right, steampunk, or the cog like a central piece. This is very different. This is very organic. It's very nature driven, beautiful colors, very bright and lively, really nice piece. I've never seen anything like this. Really nice piece. I just said I've never seen anything like this, but I have to say it does remotely, very remotely remind me of the compositions of some of the very early Ritemirs, like the 1960s, 1970s, with the unexpected point of view. Do you know what I mean? Carrie, you love it. It is so different, isn't it? It's a great idea. Layers give you lots of impressions, right? Because sometimes when you see something, a composition broken into layers, sometimes it is broken into seasons, or it's broken into time. In this case, it's a view, right? It's showing lots of slices of the view. It looks like a summer view with a little rowboat, some dusky mountains in the distance, some beachy sand. When you think about using layers, it doesn't have to be horizontal. And maybe it shouldn't be your first thought to do it horizontally, because it's very hard to do a layered composition that remains interesting. This is interesting. This is interesting because it's beautiful and it pops, but it's also interesting because it curves. It's not just a diagonal, it curves. So it does have a lot of sort of kinetic energy to it. You see that little boat very quickly running right out of this sight, right out of the screen. Really unusual. Something to think about when you sit down. Because sometimes when you sit down to compose your own composition, you trip yourself up with a blank canvas, and then you draw a horizon line, which is sometimes the worst thing that you can do. Because once you give yourself a line, you've now split your composition or your canvas in half, and sometimes that also means that you have doubled your troubles, because now you've got two spaces to think about. Doing something in layers is often a great start for a composition, just as an exercise when you're feeling all sparky, right? It's a good thing to give it a shot. This is Grace Colette's piece that was in, I think this is the only one of hers that was in the show. Absolutely beautiful. I know we looked at this because it was in the Green Mountain show in Vermont last fall. I'm just going to take a sip of my coffee while you take a gander. This has some very heavy trapunto work. I'll stretch it out for you too. Let me see. You might remember this, but I want to remind you. Pull it out a little bit more. This was very high up on the wall, and you know that I'm very short. So I was struggling a little bit, but can you see the raised relief for the cattails, the dragonfly? There's another rowboat on the horizon here, a little rowboat. There's lots of beadwork in this, right? The tail is fanned out. I think the lily pad, if my memory's right, the lily pad was trapunto. And I don't just mean like Waldoboro. I mean it was stuffed from behind. It was incredibly beautiful. This is yes, April, this is the one with a ton of beading. A ton. I love how she does her signature in the bottom left too, the lowercase g with the small c inside the G. Yeah, it is remarkable. And some Pradi on the leaves, right on the lily pad, the water lilies. It was just an extraordinary piece. I say this often, I'm like a broken record. I often struggle with bling just because I'm not much of a multimedia person. I am, but it's very situational for me. It has to have context in my mind. Otherwise, I feel like it's just like what for. But when Grace Colette does her pieces, and she's got like these shining iridescent seed beads, I mean, they're tiny, on her fishes and her dragonflies and on wings and tails. this makes sense to me. Like, this is exactly how I want to see bling done for myself. It makes sense because it's really accentuating in the water. I mean, look at the water. It's very Monet, isn't it? It makes sense. It has context. It's not just like a beginner sampler of every kind of thing ever, like square peg, circle hole, banged into one piece, you know. Um, Absolutely beautiful. I wish it was a little bit lower, this piece, because I really wanted to get some more close-ups of it for you. This is the best I could get. I mean, it's so different, but I loved this piece. I loved this. Isn't this so cute? So primitive and cute. I can try to stretch this a little bit. Hang on, let me just see if I can read the tag, because I don't think Kathy or Lynda is on today. I don't know if any, oh, Donna, I can almost read who made this. I just want to give credit when I can. I can almost see the name. Maybe Donna Tully, something like that. Massachusetts, something. Oh, does that say Barnstable, Massachusetts? Or Dunstable? Really cute. I just love it. It's so I mean, I love Primitive. Primitive is my eternal fave. But so whimsical, so charming, so sweet and playful. It's funny. It's Prim. It's got that Prim bling. I just love it. I just love it for any season. I love the hooking in the background too. A few crazy colors close to the character kind of mellows out into a pistachio color. Very limited color palette, but having said that, it's still, I'm going to make it small again so we can see the whole thing. Very limited color, oops, palette. Oops. Oh, all hell's breaking loose. Hang on. Yep, all hell's breaking loose. Wait a minute. Let me come back here. I'm in awe of these artists too. I know it, right? I'd love to see the close-ups. Yeah, I'll have to. Well, you know, I'm going to see Grace Collette very soon. I'm guessing that she must live in New Hampshire or Vermont, right? Or Maine, right? Maybe Maine because she's up there. Every time I see her, she's in one of the northern New England states. So I should ask her if it's possible to just look at her work one-on-one and do a video with her, because I'd really like to take the time to do that in the near future. I'd really like to look at her work very close up. Um, I'm just catching up on your comments. Hold on just a second while I take a sip. Oh, that one was also at Sauter, the fish, Karen. Okay, that's good to know. And Judy says, oh, I'd love to see close-ups of this one. Yeah, I'm going to try to get closer to Grace, and that'll get us closer to her extraordinary pieces. I mean, many of her pieces have that look. It's almost like she's been doing a series with exceptional layering of bling and raised elements, right? And it's so specific. Um, and it's a combination of those kinds of, like, for lack of a better word, conceits, right? Because it does, I mean, it takes so much training, practice, and talent, right? It's like the perfect storm of talent and knowledge to be able to work that many features into one piece. But she's also like a grade A rug hooker, right? It's like she's like a Rod Stewart, right? That's a great musician, but also like one of the best soccer players in the country. Like, it's that kind of perfect storm of talent, isn't it? Because it can't just be the one thing. It's several things that are going right that make it possible to do those kinds of compositions. I'll try to catch when I'm visiting with her. I'll try. You should. Grace is a goat. Grace is a goat. You should. Grace is a goat. I'm gonna get that sooner or later. I bet that's an acronym for something. And Cass says Colette was at Sauter. She drove all the way by herself. See, that puts me to shame. She drove by herself, and like I'm sorry, I look crazy today because I was like running the kids to school, and then I went to physical therapy, and I haven't had time to reset since then. Um, yeah, that puts me to shame because I just do not like driving around by myself that kinds of distance. But she doesn't have that feeling. I need to be more like that. I got to take a feather out of that cap. Greatest of all time. Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh, you all know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Gosh, you guys are so hip. Got some hipsters in this thread. I got to catch up on my acronyms, man. Yeah, she is one of the greatest of all times. There is absolutely no question about that. So yeah, I will follow up on that without a doubt. I will tell her there is huge demand to see more of her stuff close up. There's huge, and I'm included in that huge demand. I can't wait to see more of her stuff. And again, stark contrast because this is about Grace's work is about as far as you can get from primitive, right? It's completely apples and oranges. Which one is better? Neither one is better, right? They're two completely different styles. Which is better? Wearing like pearls and a Chanel jacket, or wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt? Apples and oranges, right? Neither one is better. And this is the case with a lot of this stuff because this very graphic Prim stuff really captures my imagination. I'm really drawn to this kind of graphic work. Absolutely love it. April also loves both styles. Beauty to be found in both, and it just depends on what you feel like, doesn't it? This is one of Kathy's pieces, and this is remember the hook in that I did that was black sheep. This is black sheep, and she turned her black sheep from the hook in into this footstool, which I just loved. She did such a great job. I really liked her sheep much better than I liked my sheep. That always happens when I make something. You all make versions that I like even more than my own, but that's just, I've always been like that. I always like to see other people's stuff, and I'm always like, ooh, how did you do that? Even if it's my own kit, I do that. Yeah. Good thing we can all interpret designs differently and make them our own, right? Because it creates so much conversation, and it shines the light on all the sort of different ways that you could do the same thing. Such a lot of fun. I really, really love this piece. Really love this piece. And remember, I don't have a picture of it handy because I'm not in the studio right now, but the hook along for this coming month is the sort of Maud Lewis face inside the pumpkin shape. And I'm going to be hooking the whole pumpkin with the fluffy cat hiding behind the vines. And that I won't be doing this on camera because I'm not going to be able to sit for 5 or 6 hours. But I will be doing the whole pumpkin. But then I'm going to hook or probably punch the background of it later, pop it in a frame, and I'll put that into a video. So make sure that you're signed up for the hook along. That's coming up soon. It's coming up later this month, as well as the Design Like Tarot class, which is going to be a lot of fun. Huge emphasis on design, no emphasis on learning how to read cards or anything like that, which I don't know how to do myself. I just want to look at the design aspect and create some really cool images with lots of different subjects. So there's quite a few things coming up at Ribbon Candy Hooking. Right now, I know a lot of you are finding them, but I'll remind you more when I'm back at the studio on Wednesday. And let's see, let's do a few more. Another great footstool, the Chicks. You had a date, but not a time. Oh, Kaz, I didn't have a time for the cat. Oh my gosh, that's so me, isn't it? Let's see, what day is today? Today is the 2nd. All right, hang on, let's see. What day is the hook along? Hook along. I'm going to have to figure it out. I know it's around here somewhere. No, I'm going to have to pull it up. It'll probably be, I would think, I'll check the day, but it'll probably be like 4 or 5 p.m. And I'll probably go for 3 hours. So I like it to be late enough that the people who are on the West Coast are able to catch it, but it doesn't interfere with the run-ins arounds of the middle of the day, Yeah, the tarot class is going to be interesting. I own about maybe 60 decks of different tarot cards because each one contains 78 original art images. And, I have some really crazy ones. I have the Trash Panda Tarot, which is like, they're all raccoons. I have hedgehogs. I have kawaii, all different kawaii ones and kinds of strawberry shortcake type ones. And then I also have very serious ones that are abstract, very artistic. And then I have very traditional ones. I have a steampunk one. I have ones that are just food, or ones that are just fairies, or ones that are just pretty much anything you can name. They have a tarot deck, and ones that are just purely Halloween. So there's lots of things to talk about, and they don't it's not necessarily a Halloween class, even though it's in October, but it will be a lot of fun. It'll be a great class for experimentation. This is another great footstool, and it's finished beautifully too. You know, I really love that kind of icy, sherbety lightness of the little chicks with the gray background. It's very Art Deco, isn't it, this palette? The mint green, the white, the vanilla, the whites plural, the light pink, and then the grays and black. That's a very 1920s, 1930s palette. It's just beautifully done. Very primitive, but lots of expression to the little chicks. They look like happy little guys, right? Living their best lives. So far, so good. And just a beautiful piece, a simple piece, but very, very great country look to it. And just beautifully done, beautifully executed background too. I like the soft shading of the wings, you know, versus the bodies. And the fact that they're not all the same, and the fact that they're not outlined, and the fact, you know, that their legs bear some of the gray that's also in the background. It looks like possibly a lot of marrying of colors with this one. Um, Absolutely beautiful. Very different color palette, because I think most people going into this would be like, give me the duckling yellow, right? Dharma makes a color called duckling. Um, but in this case, it's very, very different. And the neutral that's used in conjunction with the yellow is creamy and an off-white, isn't it? With little flecks of sort of gray in there. Very unusual palette. Really thoughtful and smart doing it in this way. I think it was very striking. Now let's see. Oh, Sticky Wicket. I think this is one of Kathy's pieces too. I'm not sure. I think it might be. Another great primitive piece with a lot of character. Sticky Wicket, the cat. It's a great name. It's beautiful markings showing, very exaggerated, very stylized, right? You see a lot of stylized cats. And some of them are like the Laurel Birch kind of cat. Some of them are like the Leslie, what's her name, who did the very realistic cats on carpets, like Persian carpets and quilts and things like that. Leslie, oh, I can't think of her name now, but she's very popular in the 90s. In the rug hooking world, Happy DeFranza did a lot of cats, a lot of fat cats that were very distinctive. You know, we see a lot of different styles of cats, you know, as people who go out into the world and look at stuff and enjoy art. You see lots of different styles, but for me, this is very different. This almost strikes me as like kind of an Egyptian pose, right? It's so stylized. It's so different. The markings are there's a lot of emphasis on all of the markings. We often talk about how to handle the cat's whiskers. Well, this is so stylized that the whiskers are super pronounced, but it seems like the Sticky Wicket is still maintaining his actual markings, because I'm seeing very irregular, like little feet, right? The tip on the tail, and then a couple more bands on the tail. There are irregular markings on Sticky Wicket, but in terms of a shape, he's a cutout shape, right? He's just plunked down as a cutout shape, but he is beautifully hooked and beautifully marked. I really like how his eye is outlined in the gray, because there's black in the center with one little glimmer of mischief and brightness. I love that the nose is that lighter color. You know, sometimes in this craft, you if you're looking for feedback from other people, or if you're not looking for feedback, sometimes people will make comments like, the nose is too close to the background, or the feet are too close to the background. In my opinion, that's not a thing. I love that the nose is this light rosy color that is a similar value to the background, and so are the feet, but I like that. I personally love that. I love that there are some darks. I love that there are some lights. Not everything has to be looked at and studied through one of those red quilters films. You know what I mean? Life just isn't like that, and art isn't like that. I love the graphic quality of this. I love that my eye wants to spend time on Sticky Wicket, looking at the markings, looking at the way that it's hooked and outlined, is part of the interest to me. And another part of it is this extraordinary background. Also his white throat, right? That's interesting as well. But this lighter background, before you get, you know, on the bottom southwest corner, the background around Sticky Wicket is like squared off, and it's a little bit lighter. It looks like a mottled wool. And Sticky Wicket around the letters is outlined a little bit darker, maybe for emphasis, but still the same color, just a lighter tone of the color. I think it's extraordinary. And there is a little outlining around the letter Sticky Wicket. But I love that, and I think it is Kathy, again, I'm not sure. But I love that the maker did not feel that they needed to write the word Sticky Wicket in black or red or something really bright to stand out. Because this color palette revolves around the colors of Sticky Wicket. Sentences I've never said before, right? But I think that's really important, and I think that's really special. And I think keeping it in this very subdued, pale, restful palette, I think makes the piece, because his, reddish, brownish, black markings really come out. He's got a lot of calico tiger stuff going on. It really stands out great against that light smoky blue with the light lettering, right? It's very readable. It's very successful in every way. I absolutely love the piece. I think we have a couple more pieces, and then I'm going to stop at the pumpkin exhibit, and we'll look at that on Wednesday. This is another beautiful piece. I'm guessing this is Pearl McGowan or Jane McGowan. Beautiful sort of Jacobean tree. This one's a little bit different because normally we see the tree rooted on that little mound, right? There's usually a little mound under it. This is just in keeping with the Jacobean style, right, of textiles and wallpaper and all of that. It's usually you get the full tree going down to the ground, and sometimes you get the animals under it. I love that this is just different. It's just a crop of what's in the air. You're seeing some branches of the tree kind of deviating out in different directions, and you're seeing the magical, whimsical, quite unrealistic flowers in beautiful colors. Very different styles of leaves and flowers, right? Different from each other in this impossible tree. Almost, the Jacobean trees always remind me of a variety of sampler, because you get the chance to do X amount of leaves and X amount of flowers in one piece without feeling like there has to be a bouquet or there has to be continuity because it doesn't make sense. I love the leap of faith with this style of design, that there doesn't have to be any commonalities. We're just talking about a bunch of flowers on one tree. The tree is the vehicle. The flowers are whatever you want. The berries, the leaves, the little swirling viney things that are coming off, it's whatever you want. They don't have to be anything. Beautiful marble cake background on this too. I'm just going to have a sip of coffee while we look. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Yep, love that piece too. I loved all the pieces I saw this day. This is another primitive, super sweet, just a great, friendly, happy, graphic piece. Honey, I'm home. And beautiful little beehive hanging from a little branch. Simple flowers, amazing font, few little bees. I think the bees might be buttons, I feel like. I feel like it had a three-dimensional quality to it. It was just beautifully done, very peaceful, very contemporary, sweet sentiment, funny, just super pleasing, right? Super pleasing to look at. A lot of fun. Now, hang on. I'm having a little struggle. Wait a minute. The sun just came in and I'm having trouble seeing my stupid screen. Let's see. Yep, we have a few more. So I'm going to stay on with you for a couple more minutes until we hit the pumpkin ones. These were two. You can tell they're high up on the wall because you can tell by the angle. I even had my arms as far up as they would go, and this was the best I could do. So they're a little bit angled, but two more stunning, stunning pieces. I'm not sure if they're done by the same person either. I'm never going to be able to read the tags, but I love the basket of bunnies on the left. Who doesn't love a basket of bunnies? These great yellow flowers, two colored yellow flowers coming up, right? We've got the daisy style flowers with the pink petals drooping down. Really beautiful and oversized, unrealistically large, right? In keeping with the primitive feel of the piece. These great swirls behind the flowers on the black background, making it really, really sort of Victorian looking. Almost looks like velvet, the background. Color changing or ombre dyed. Blue butterfly in the sky. Simple shading, right? This is not realism. This is simple shading. It's graphic. It's one step away from primitive, but really beautiful, sweet subject, great springtime subject, very folky feeling, and really, really charming. I love the fact that there aren't a million colors in here. The bunnies really stand out against the black. The two different kinds of flowers is enough. The composition is absolutely perfectly balanced. I mean, it couldn't be any better than it is. And I think the colors have really taken it to from being like what could be a very simple piece to being an extraordinary piece. It's just beautiful. The little bunny laying down and the mama bunny looking at him is so cute. Some kind of a dialogue happening there. And to the right, beautiful big sheep, right? All of, you never see sheep done this way, do you? It's very, very rare. Very simple piece. Another composition that if you looked at it as a pattern, you could think, oh, very, very simple, maybe too simple. Nope. The way that this sheep is executed with all of this kind of hit or miss swirling, lots of motion within the body, shading, right, to make the face a little more hollow because they do have skinny little snouts, and the little nose, the little lips, everything is just perfect. It is, again, super stylized, but lots of detail, right? The detail is done in a very abstract way, and it is a variety of hit or miss. All of the going from white, different shades of white, grayish, whitey brown, to black, right? So it goes right to the extreme. Black background, very striking, very dramatic, some antique black worked into the background. Beautiful proscenium, just a single vine around the sheep. Very effective, simple and effective. Simple is hard. And when you see it done this good, it's like, wow, the impact is just incredible. Absolutely beautiful piece. Another beautiful piece. Let me see what I've got here. I'm just going to stretch this a little bit more, and there's one under it. I want to look at that one too. Another beautiful bunny. But this one's a little out of focus. I'm so sorry about that. It was, again, high up on the wall. Some beautiful checkerboard border. I really love the colors. I love how the colors are both colors that are present in the composition. That blue from the sky and then the swirling green in the grass. I love the fact that the grass is handled in two different ways, as sort of waves or wavelets, right, moving waves. And then right above, very horizontal pieces of grass, blades of grass standing up at attention. It's really smart. It's very, very different. Great use of prati here too. You expect to find prati on flowers. Seeing petals jump out at you makes sense, doesn't it? It looks like the bunny has a fluffy tail as well. So there's some prati and some three-dimensional bling happening here. Another really sweet piece. The front might be the bunny's chest. Is that possible? And then the back maybe is the tail. And he's looking at with attention at maybe a noise. Very sweet storytelling piece. Really, really beautiful colors. And this, I was wondering if I had a single one of this piece. I feel like we've seen this pattern before, but I've never seen it done in these colors. More and more, I love seeing that, it's very 70s, not this color palette, but seeing the white background with that kind of pea green color is typically very 70s, but this rendering or this version of it is very different because there are so many pinks and purples here. So yeah, just put it in there for me. So it is very contemporary, but there is kind of a little hat tip to me to the past because it reminds me of palettes that I saw growing up in the 70s, right? With a few more contemporary colors thrown in there. So it's a very interesting color palette. It is a very spring color palette, but it does have the feeling of being kind of eternal. Like I wouldn't put this up in the spring and take it down just because we hit summer or fall. Beautiful soft colors, lots of great color changing wool. Outlining is done beautifully. There's a variety of different techniques here. Very flat in a good way because this is a primitive piece, but it's just beautifully done. There's some dip dyed in the purple, and there's some variegated color, multicolor, probably hand-painted wools in there. Very soft, very, very pretty. Just a very stunning, simple, stunning piece that executed expertly. Oh, there we go. That's a better one of that. Sorry about that. Just for you to see context of what we're looking at, right? We saw the Jacobean one is on the left and the bunny with the checkerboard border and the sheep. I just wanted to take you kind of with me. Let me see how many more we've got. Maybe, let me just quickly. Okay. So we've got two more after this. So I'm going to push through because then I really want to just talk about pumpkins on Wednesday. This is another beautiful piece, great landscape, and there is an applied aspect to this with beads again, but the beads are being used as those brilliant rays coming out of the silhouetted lighthouse. So we get a really great feeling of sunset here. Sunset is very hard to do, right? Because you want there to be darkness, which means things have to be in silhouette, but you still want the things in silhouette to be quite distinct so you can make them out, right? And it's not lumpy. Well, this is beautifully done. We've got a very graphic lighthouse and these beads coming out of it that are these electric rays of light, these searching rays. And in the foreground, well lit, is a gull. So that makes perfect sense that we could see him perfectly because we're standing right there. It looks like there's a little applied starfish on the same rock. Beautifully colored rocks, right? Whoever the maker is on this, very, very well done. I love the simpleness of the blue water with the waves. I love the simpleness of the silhouetted hills, but they are different colors. There's interest there, but the rocks are phenomenal. That one little black stripe on the wing of the gull, also phenomenal. The lighthouse, I absolutely love that you have it in silhouette and the actual house attached to it with its shining windows like it's nighttime. Very, very smart. Very smart. We can see a couple of trees on that shore, right at the point of the jetty where the lighthouse is. There's a couple of trees, and you can see the house that's attached to the lighthouse. Beautifully done. There's a couple of waves that are done in the very, very light yellow of the setting sun that's almost that blinding color. I'm just noticing there's also beads over the sun. So it's like a giant setting sun. And the main character here is really not the lighthouse or the bird. It's the sky. It's the sunset. Right, this is a picture of a sunset, and it's an extraordinary sunset. Beautifully done. The color changing, going from very, very light against what is not black, which looks more like purple or gray, but it reads as black because in contrast to that very light sky, it is really, really lighting up the peaks of the landscape, going up, rising up to the oranges and the purples are feeding back into the shade of the lighthouse, which is like a warmish, grayish purple, and then those rocks, which have a lot of purple and a little bit of orange in them. Very, very smart coloring on this piece. Great color scheme, because it perfectly reads as the time of day that it's supposed to be. And all of the elements are, I think, perfectly placed composition-wise. It's very smart. Very well done. Oh, so wait a minute. So hold on. That makes me second guess myself. Hold on. Let me see if nope, that was correct. I'm just shaking you up a little bit because I want to be sure. Okay, so I just put in two of the same. I'm sorry about that. I put in, oh, okay. Well, you know what? Hang on. Nope, that's it. We're going to start here tomorrow. I'm going to give you some foreshadowing. It's going to be a cliffhanger. Not tomorrow, but Wednesday for our coffee time show at noon Eastern Central Time, same place, Ribbon Candy Hooking Channel. We're going to be looking at this part of the Deerfield Fair, which was the Pumpkin Challenge for 2023. Now get this. Anything but orange pumpkin challenge. Ooh. Trace this template onto a backing of your choice. Please use a square format of 8x8 or 10x10. To finish, use any style. Use your creativity to add details, embellishments, colors, or sparkle. Try not to use orange. Try not to use orange. Get comfortable and have fun. Isn't that a cliffhanger? Right? You might have seen some of the. Oh, I moved this a little bit. Sorry about that. I think that's so interesting because as soon as you say the word pumpkin, people immediately take out their oranges and go, oh, do I want my blazing, crazy bright oranges, or do I want like the more squash colored yellowy oranges? To have that sort of stipulation, but don't use orange is tricky. And then it opens up a whole different part of your brain where you might be thinking, well, wait a minute. There are other color pumpkins, number one, and number two, different times of the day, right? Just like the sunset we just looked at. There's lots of places you can go with that, right? You're not going to hit a dead end, that's for sure. Wait till you see the pumpkins that people did for this challenge. It was a ton, and it was such a lot of fun. It's going to be fun. I'm really, now that we're into October, I'm really getting that fall feeling going. I've got my orange leggings on, looking like a fool walking up the road, I'm sure. But I'm feeling it. And I have more than a couple more videos to do. I have 3 videos left on my phone that I'm going to put out for the autumn advent calendar, and then I still have a couple more to record. So I wouldn't say I'm behind with that. I can only record so many a week and live. And I was struggling with being sick, and I am way better now. I think I just got run down again. The physical therapy is really helping. I was in there again today, really helping. So I'm moving as fast as I can. I'm catching up on orders like crazy today. It's been a ton of dyeing lately, and I was about when I logged on to look at where my order is for the trick or treat bags, because that's supposed to be coming these first days of October. So hopefully that comes today, because I want to get those trick or treat bags out to you. I know it's still a ways away, but I want to get those out the door, and also the dyeing sets out the door. Today, one of my priorities is putting color charts into the product for the Pig's Breakfast dyeing class, which is a recorded class. It's going to be highly edited. So it's going to be the most sort of professional video I've ever done, where it's broken into chapters. And you see, I think it's 10 different styles of dyeing. And this kit comes with absolutely everything, including the yarns, the dyes, I mean, the squirt bottles, the synthropol, the citric acid, the ties, everything. So those will be going out in the next few days too. Those are my projects this week, catching up on orders. Um, yeah, and I'll remind you on Wednesday about whatever I might have forgotten in the meantime. Michelle says, I'm so glad you're feeling better. Looking forward to tarot. Me too. When is tarot? It's not this week, is it? Nope, not this week. It's not even next week. Okay, it's the week after. Fantastic. Good. Whew, that scared me. Just thinking about that. Yeah, we got a bunch of good things coming up, but so busy month, right? Busy month for all of us. Hey, I will see you all on Wednesday. Have a great tomorrow and look forward to those pumpkins. Before you know what the pumpkins look like, maybe it'd be fun to sit down and kind of sketch out a pumpkin design for yourself, or just download a clip art pumpkin, right? And think about, how would I do the pumpkin? It's okay, Michelle. No, I'm excited too. How would I do the pumpkin not with orange, right? That's a fun exercise. If you have some snoodle noodles near you, you got your basket going, you could just take them out and start hooking in your yarn or your noodles or whatever, and see how it goes. That could be fun. Or get some fleece, right? I just found a big mess of fleece that the kids were using for making puppets and stuff left over, and I thought, yeah, I'm also going to do some videos after I catch up a little bit more with hooking with fleece. And I've got a lot of things to share with you about projects that I'm working on with Judy Taylor too. So it's a lot, and it's going to be fun, and there's going to be some big stuff happening in the near future. So rest up, but keep going with your projects, and I will see you on Wednesday at noon for the pumpkin episode of the Deerfield Fair, and have a great time in between.